beginning of 2020 in Iraq, and then the Iraqi parliament voted the U.S. out of Iraq, and the U.S. said, no, we're going to stay. So much for spreading democracy in the Middle East. So again, what we're dealing with is the pretext to something very big. And I think one of the platforms it stands on is the global hegemony system. And what we're dealing with here could absolutely eviscerate the global economy. And I'm not saying that to be, bombacious, or I'm not trying to say this in order to be a fearmonger, but what we're seeing is on the table. It's clear, and it's not a coincidence that they just happen to be bringing out digital IDs, food rations, and conscription with the CBDC at the same time. Mark, in an emergency orders. We talked before about the United Nations Pact for the Future. If you say negative things about the government or the narrative, they could shut down your bank account. They could issue you credits, carbon credits, social credits, whatever it might be. And they're bringing in this Palantir biometric system. To me, this seems like the perfect excuse to bring in that digital system of control out under the guise of an emergency. And if you don't like it, you hate America. What do you think?
I think you're 100% right. I didn't know what event it was going to be, and I'm not saying that this is the one. Yeah. Right? There's been plenty of events over the last year, 2 years that could be considered the one, but it's just it's conditioning everybody for what's coming. And that Pact of the Future, interesting you brought that up. You're right. You speak out against the government. If you're a dissident, the whole digital ID system that is being put into place. We're going to have a digital currency in this country with the Genius Act. Europe has also claimed that they're going to have, or stated very boldly that they're going to have the digital currency.
And by the way, 193 countries signed on to the UN Pact for the Future. So your country's involved unless you're in, like, I don't know, maybe Central African Republic or something. So, I mean, you guys have been signed on to this already, just so you know.
Yeah, so I've been wondering what event it was going to be that, okay, here, you just take what's coming to you. But it seems like all systems are replaced, and now it's all systems are go. I don't know if this is going to be the exact event. It's definitely going to be a major event leading to another one if it is not the event that's going to switch us to that system. But the system, keep in mind, is already in place. When they voted on that Pact of the Future, it's not like they were voting and then all of a sudden they got to build out of a surveillance and a digital system. That's been going on for some time. Everything with Palantir that's happening right now, everything with the ECB or the European Union saying that they're going to commit $1.3 trillion to the digital ID program targeted majority towards surveillance. I mean, this is just icing on the cake. So we're very, very close to there. And it's kind of crazy because this is all happening when the entire market is just on such a hairy trigger that anything could blow this thing up. But I do think it's dollar positive initially, but that fades very, very fast. This is ultimately massively big for gold and silver.
Remember that the Iraq War, in many ways, it wasn't the only reason, but among many, that we saw the financial crash later on, of several years later, in 2007, 2008. Now, of course, that wasn't based entirely on that, but there was already a bubble that was brewing at the time. And then the war came in, and then there's all this new manufacturing, and they say, oh, look at us, we're the greatest country in the world. And then people started to grow wary of that. Money was spent like it was chiclets. And of course, what we ended up seeing was a collapse of these bubbles. And we see so many of them right now, just in time for BlackRock to own all the property and for them to be bringing in digital IDs. I mean, the economy has been on such shaky footing for such a long time, and it just takes one major crisis, and it just happens that there are many major crises happening right now. Destruction of the supply chain across the board, which we're seeing at a record pace, 73-year low in cattle head in the United States, which we haven't, keep in mind, there was only 1 billion people on Earth when we're at that previous record high 73 years ago. So we're talking about a much different situation than back then, and far more dangerous. Again, a lot of solutions out there. Nonetheless, I know, and it hurts me to say this, most people will not take any of those solutions seriously. I hope those of you that are watching are different from them, because, I mean, this is something that we're going to see snowball. And Mark, with what we've recently reported on, the debt crisis is through the roof, trillions being spent. Now we're going to see $1 trillion budget, the biggest before in history for war. And that's before this even struck. So if this goes full nuclear, and I say that no pun intended, then of course we could face even an addition to that budget that could be very drastic. And that could mean very, very big consequences for the so-called consumer in the United States. What do you think?
Oh, it's going to be horrible for the consumer. One, if we start blowing up the budget, especially with tariffs and less coming in here, you're going to have a inflationary spike like no other. And I think the bond markets are going to respond to that, and you're going to get a natural higher rise in interest rates. So anybody with adjustable rate mortgages, they're tough in a tough spot. Anybody looking to get a house, you're going to be canceled out of the market, car market, anything like that, even credit cards. You're going to start to see a lot of defaults. And it's also very concerning to me that all this is going into as you said, with the shortage and you're talking about the cattle. So that trickles into a lot of other aspects of what people use on a daily basis. And I will tell you this, don't be fooled with dollar strength. Don't be fooled with the stimulus programs. Don't be fooled with all this stuff, because all this is, in my opinion, when you're about ready to rob the bank, when you're about ready to bankrupt the business, which the U.S., in my opinion, is going to go to a bankruptcy status. When you're about ready to hit that final switch and all systems go for digital ID, digital currencies, you blow the hell out of it, right? Because you're just going to write that shit off anyway. So I think people should see this for what it is. I would see the stimulus or the war effort spending just go through the absolute roof, because we're going to go through a reprice and bankrupt anything anyway. Gold and silver is really the only insurance that you can have, or the only money you can have outside of a defaulted currency that you can own and possess with zero counterparty risk, no matter what the hell happens in the world.
Absolutely. And again, if you want to know where the future is, look what they're doing privately, because we see the market rise right before this even happens. Someone knows something, and maybe you should be listening to, you should be listening to us and not do what they say, but do as they do, maybe, perhaps, because we're seeing the evidence in front of our eyes with gold right here. And of course, we don't know where this is going to go short term, but long term, I know 100% where this is going to go. And I'm not, this is an investment advice. Of course, we're talking about wealth insurance here, not an investment, in my opinion. But I think that we're going to see an absolute shock to the system, and we're going to see gold and silver hit things no one could ever imagine. Just looking at the debt clock here, because I have it up. Dollars in debt in the United States, and of course you look at the dollar to silver ratio, 5-year and 10-year. You have the gold to silver ratio, 5-year and 10-year. I mean, we're looking at most likely, and Mark has mentioned this before in past videos, much more than this. This is like child's play compared to what it could be. And of course we have to consider inflation and all these other things, and the shift into BRICS. People are trying to protect themselves in their own ways, and the elites always seem to do it first, just like they're building bunkers for some reason right now across the board. So as we close this off, I urge people to take those solutions seriously. We have this right here. First, nationalbullion.com/schedule-console/. There you could buy physical gold and silver, hold it in your hands, put it in a vault, put it in an IRA outside of the traditional IRA system. Again, this is a way to get out of that CBDC system, get out of the ration system that they're trying to build right now, and schedule an appointment for a free consultation with Mark Gonzalez and a complimentary investors package. There you can let him know in the form when you sign up, in the comment section of it, that you found him at World Alternative Media, or WAM, W-A-M. I would be remiss to not mention 2 more solutions here in this video today as we close it off, because we've talked about cattle head and everything, and we're talking about a war here, and they want you on rations. So you have to protect your money, and you have to protect your food, which is itself another currency. And I want to urge people to also check that link in the description for whambeef.com for 10+ year shelf life freeze-dried steak, 12 servings per bag. There's also chicken and ground beef as well. Use code WHAMBEEF, W-A-M-B-E-E-F, all one word, and you will get 20% off. And of course, heavensharvest.com for long-term storable foods that are non-GMO. There's organic kits, heirloom seeds, water filtration and storage, and books on how to get started. Use code WHAM, W-A-M, and you'll get 5% off, as well as free shipping on these items. I think it's important that everyone takes all the solutions seriously and creates a multi-tiered solution system for themselves, so that they don't have to live in fear. This isn't about...
Hey, Shalom, Yashala, Shalom once again. I'd like to begin by saying I want to give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashum, Yahweh-Shai, Bahashum, Ruach-HaKodesh, whom I worship. The bottom of my elder apostles, a great millstone, who taught me his word, in sincerity and in truth, and who well. Salutations to you Akim out there, okay, of the hopeful elect, doing this work, this holy work, man, okay, out there in the highways, byways, hedges, and gaps, proclaiming the true names of the Father, which is Yahweh, and His Son, Yahweh-Shai, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, you know, in the midst of a wicked-ass people, you know what I'm saying? Salutations to all of you, and may Yahweh Bashem Yahushua grant you your holy crowns of salvation at His second appearance, you know, because that's what we're waiting for, right? Daily, okay? And we're getting closer and closer. So something big just happened last night or earlier this morning. I have to qualify that, find out when exactly did Israel attack Iran. This could become a big thing, or it may be nothing, right? But now we have to keep our eyes peeled. We knew that it was going to happen. Everybody knew it was going to happen because Israel been talking smack about it. Okay, so there's articles that the U.S. No, the U.S. is not involved, which is true, right? But eventually you're going to have to get involved because it's going to be the state of Israel, okay, to bring you into the last war. It says that the least of the flock shall draw him out, right? So it's talking about draw who? Draw the Babylon, the army of Babylon the Great, which is America, out to war over there in the Middle East. And we know, according to the prophecy, that's where all the forces of the world are going to meet and pretty much destroy themselves, okay? The elect of the nation of Israel will be saved and delivered, okay, by the Lord in what are known as so-called UFOs, UAPs, spaceships, if you will, spacecrafts, if you will, to deliver the Lord's elect and to come back down to start a whole new world in righteousness, okay, under the Son of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh-Shai, whom the Edomite Romans crucified nearly 2,000 years ago. Okay, so that what you just saw, that's Josh Sigerton from the World Alternative Media. You know, that's one of the media sources I go to, alternative media sources I go to, besides the Dollar Vigilante, Jeff Burrick. And you know, these guys, they bring out a lot of facts, a lot of, you know, things that are current, you know, and you know, things that you won't normally hear on the mainstream media, which is bought and paid for by the Rothschilds and the elites. Okay, now you heard him speak about that the elites, they're the first ones to, you know, because they know they're causing things to happen, so they're the first ones to, you know, protect their monies, protect their properties and stuff like that. But at the end, there shall be they won't be able to protect, whether they have all the gold in the world or all the silver in the world, they won't be able to protect themselves because it's a judgment against them, you know. now he was talking about how they were building bunkers, you know. So I wanted to go into that too, but first let's find out at what time did Israel strike Iran. That's what I want to know. All right, this is BBC News. It says, what we know about Israel attack attacks on Iran's nuclear sites and military commanders. It says Israel launched strikes across Iran on Friday, saying they targeted the heart of Iran's nuclear program. Yeah, because they don't want Iran making nuclear missiles. The strikes killed Hussein Salami, chief of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards, a powerful branch of the country's armed forces. Other senior military figures and nuclear scientists, Iranian state media reported. Civilians, including children, were also among those killed, state media reported. So that was earlier this morning that Iran that Israel struck Iran. Sorry. So yeah. So you see the what a difference a day makes. You know. So, and that's why we stand upon our watch, our tower, man. Okay. It says when and where did the strikes happen? It says explosions were reported in Iran's capital, Tehran, around 3:30 local time, and 1 BST. I don't know what BST is. Y'all can look that up. Iranian state TV said residential areas in Tehran were hit with blasts. Also heard northeast of the capital. So my question is this: what are these Arabs and these Middle East nations gonna do, man? Because here it is, Israel has attacked and destroyed Palestine, took it over, and now they're trying to do the same to Iran, which is a part of their agenda, by the way. Okay, their whole agenda was to take over the whole of the Middle East and rule and reign over it. All right, so that was found in, I believe, that book, the Prodigals of the Learned Elders of Zion, and I believe there was like a how they found that was it was secretive, but they said that it was a messenger that had these on him, and I believe this was in France, and he was on his way to go to, I believe, some secret meeting. We could go into the in depth at a later time, and lightning struck him, and then he was found dead. And then the authorities found this young man or man with these papers on him, and they read them, and they were like, oh snap! They found out what was in them, and it was a secret plot by the small hats, okay, by the what do you call them? The Zionists, to take over the world, man. You know, and that's exactly what they try. That's what you're seeing. That's why the small hats all throughout the world, they're in key positions, man, in government. Okay, and they have toppled many governments since they've been around, since they've been in power. All right, so yep, that's what's happening, man. So let's see some videos. Let's see.
Israel strikes Iran. We just got a statement from Defense Minister Israel Katz, who says, and I want to read this in full here. He says, following the state of Israel's preemptive strike against Iran, a missile and drone attack against the state of Israel and its civilian population is expected in the immediate future. Two important parts to that sentence there. First, the defense minister is acknowledging that Israel has carried out what he calls a preemptive strike against Iran. This is what we've been looking for over the course of the past days, and frankly, something the U.S. has been tracking for several weeks now, the possibility that Israel will carry out a strike against Iran. There are some social media reports of explosions happening in Tehran. Unclear what the targets are of those. There's still a lot more information we need there, but Israel's defense minister has acknowledged that they have carried out strikes against Iran, the first time in months that we have seen direct Israeli action against targets in Tehran. Again, unclear what those targets are, whether it's Iranian nuclear facilities or other targets. So we will wait to learn more about that. But following that, the defense minister has said that Homefront Command has essentially shifted the entire country into an emergency status, and that the population here is expected to follow the instructions of Homefront Command. A short time ago, we heard sirens going off here in Jerusalem behind us. We got messages on our phone related to those sirens saying Homefront Command is putting the country on alert. And the defense minister is saying that Israel expects an imminent missile and drone attack incoming following Israel's strikes against Iran. I will also read a statement we've gotten from Israel's military, the Israel Defense Forces, that says, following the situational assessment, it was determined that as of today at 3 in the morning, immediate changes will be made to the Homefront Command guidelines. As part of the changes, it was decided to shift all areas of the countries from full activity to essential activity, and that brings with it a prohibition on educational activities, gatherings, and workplaces, except for essential sectors. So you see the immediate shift coming from the government and from the military and the defense minister in light of what they expect to be a potential large-scale response and retaliation from Iran that may be incoming, at least according to the statement we're seeing here.
We start with the breaking news at this hour as Israel has carried out strikes on Iran's nuclear program. The IDF has said, with blasts heard in Tehran. The strikes were part of Operation Rising Lion, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said, adding Iran was a threat to Israel's very survival. Israel has declared a state of emergency, saying the country expected retaliation. Well, joining me live are our Middle East correspondent, T.E.O.W.A.W.K.I in Jerusalem, our senior reporter, Bern de Boosman.
Hey, well, there you go. There you have it. So this day, all right. So it's just so many things happening, man. Okay. You got the No Kings protesting that's gonna happen tomorrow. You got the anti-ICE protesting happening in LA and throughout different places. You know, you still got the situation happening out there in Palestine. Okay, and now this. So throughout the day, we gotta see the updates, see what how Russia's gonna respond to this, how Iran is an ally to Russia. How China gonna react to this, what U.S. gonna say. The U.S. they're already saying the U.S. has nothing to do with this, but you are gonna get involved. Okay, you are gonna have boots on the ground over there eventually in Iran. So brothers, sisters, so you already know what to look out for. All right, and hey man, now's the time to strengthen your faith and your confidence in Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai, and know and have faith and trust in Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai that He will deliver you, man. Okay, out of any evil. Okay, you must have that mentality. All right. So with that, this is Bishop Teacher Sakwa Run signing off. Shalom. Lord willing, maybe later on, according to this event here, I could come back and then do another like an update lesson. All right. So with that, I'm gonna say shalom. All right. Stay tuned.